Hi, I'm Donna Ricardo with Red Stiletto Get to the Point, and thank you for joining me today. Over the next couple of days, I'll be sharing some important points about public speaking, and then I'll let you know how you can find out more. I offer public speaking programs, coaching, and training for women entrepreneurs who are the face of their business, meaning they're very likely to be the only one in their business. And I say that public speaking as an entrepreneur is different. It's different because you're basically selling yourself to your audience, but you're not only selling your product or service like everyone else, would do, like that would be normal. You're selling yourself. And while that is always true with public speaking, it can feel especially vulnerable if your business has come about through your expertise and experience. And this is as opposed to speaking, let's say for a company, you're speaking internally, maybe you're running meetings or you're selling or speaking on behalf of someone else's product or service like that. So public speaking as an entrepreneur is different because it's all you all the time. So I'm a lot like you in that public speaking maybe wasn't so normal, so easy, so natural for you. It certainly wasn't for me. But what qualifies me now to speak with you about this topic is I was a member of Toastmasters public speaking clubs for over 11 years, and I've earned a Distinguished Toastmaster Award, which is the highest award a person can achieve in that organization. I was a trainer in the professional beauty business for 10 years, and for the last 16 years, I was a trainer in the personal growth and development company, where I coached and trained thousands of people to fulfill on what was most important to them. I'm also a trained NLP practitioner. NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and it's kind of a fancy way of saying learning the language of your mind, how you talk to yourself, which communicates and translates into how you speak to others, what comes out of your mouth, and how you relate to the world. I'm also a member of the National Speakers Association, and over time, I have learned that the public speaking journey is so much more than just the speaking. In my last video, I talked about how preparation is sexy and how it's important. And if you missed it, go back and look at it. You should have that in your email. Today, I'm going to talk with you about storytelling. Good storytelling is at the heart of every presentation or talk. Today, I'll talk with you about how to connect with your audience and deliver a more meaningful and memorable message. So when I had been in the professional beauty world for about 10 years, I wanted to be a trainer and give back to the community of hairdressers some of the great training I had gotten. And I'd become, at that point, the education coordinator in a top New York City salon, but there really wasn't an opportunity to grow beyond coordinating weekly classes for the apprentices. And I learned of a corporate hair salon chain called Regis Salons, and they were hiring trainers to go around the country to different salons and provide education. It sounded perfect to me. I had something I wanted to share with the beauty world, and here was a place I could do it. So moving salons and a clientele is no small thing, but I manage it and I get myself hired at the Regis flagship salon in Saks Fifth Avenue in New York City. I had already communicated my intention to the salon manager, Jean, and the corporate education manager, Gordon. I am confident I have the educational background to do this type of on-the-road training, and I'm certain things are going to move forward quickly once I'm in the new salon. Then, nothing. And I start to doubt myself. I start to question the manager. I say, Jean, what do I need to do? She says, Donna, you need to get a resume. Well, this was a time before everyone and their cat had resumes. Certainly hairdressers did not. At best, they might have a portfolio of work they had done outside the salon for magazines or shows or something like that. But I figure it out. I get myself a resume and I present it to Jean. She says, I'll make sure Gordon gets it. And from time to time, Gordon would come into our salon and I always ask him, well, pester him really, Gordon, when can I start training in other salons? Finally, 6 months later, Gordon says to me, Donna, we're going to send you out on the road to Rhode Island and Boston for 4 days with the National Art Director, Ian. You will visit the first salon for 2 days, then 2 more salons, 1 day each. Oh, a dream come true. They're going to train me to do exactly what I want to do. Day 1, we're in a mall salon with 20-something fairly new hairdressers. Ian is handsome, charming, and British. He charms and entertains them for the whole day. I'm charmed and entertained too. Day 2, same salon, but now the stylists have brought in some friends and family to practice on. I am in my element. This is what I've been doing for the past 5 years, and I breeze through the day. And I think to myself, this is going very well, and I can do this. That evening, when Ian drops me off at the hotel, he says to me, Donna, you can open tomorrow at the next salon. What? I don't know what that means. I don't know what to do. Of course, I don't say that out loud. I pretend to understand. What comes out of my mouth is okay. But I feel incapable, stupid, and terrified. I have no idea what is expected of me, no idea what to do. What happened to my training to do this? Back in my hotel room, I babbled to myself in the mirror, pretending to practice saying something, anything, with clothes, without. I'm willing to try anything. I'd heard that could help. It doesn't. And I barely sleep that night. Day 3. When Ian picks me up in the morning, I'm as white as a sheet and I have nothing to say. We get all the way to the salon when he says, I'll open this morning and you can do a model this afternoon. I feel temporary relief. Maybe it'll be okay. This means I will do a demonstration haircut and talk about it while I'm doing it. We have the model. A small, chubby Italian lady with beautiful short white hair that Ian had turned a beigey pink color this morning, and she has no neck. I silently start to cut her hair. I can't think of what to say. I am certain I'm the biggest loser. There are no words coming out of my mouth. There are 10 hairdressers there today, and they're older and more experienced than the last group, and they have notebooks in hand and they are ready to learn. I continue to cut hair silently. One of them finally asks me a question. I give a brief answer, and so it goes for the rest of the haircut. More questions, more brief answers. I am not connecting with them. I'm not showing up for them. I'm not even looking at them. And it's painful for both me and them. Ian has left the salon, but that evening he never mentions what I have done. And I'm certain the stylists have told him. Day 4. The next and last day, we are in Saks Fifth Avenue in Boston for only 3 hours, and I figure out fast where I stand. Ian treats me like his assistant now instead of a peer. Wash hair, sweep up, hand him things. Upon my return, there is no feedback given ever, and I'm way too embarrassed and humiliated to ask anyone about it. And I never get another invitation to go on the road again. I lost my voice that day. That never has to happen to you. It is my passion to work with entrepreneurs to show up powerfully, speak up confidently, and get what they want for themselves and their lives. And I have more than one story like this. If you heard yesterday's video, you heard another story. So clearly, public speaking can be learned. At the heart of every good presentation or talk is at least one story. So let's talk about storytelling. Why tell stories? Well, stories bring a talk to life. And storytelling has been a form of communication throughout the entire history of mankind. It's part of every civilization on every continent. And storytelling is just as popular today as it ever was. Even in business, we want to tell stories to engage our audience. People in business are human before they are anything else. And stories speak to the humanity in all of us. Information alone is insufficient to keep your audience's attention. A well-told story engages the emotions of the listener. It'll attract and keep your listener's attention, and it can emphasize or illustrate a point. You have many stories inside of you. They just need to be uncovered. A story is a moment in time. It's not a description of something or someone. What was at stake in that moment? What emotion is connected to that moment? Take people on a journey with you. Something happens and there's a transformation from the beginning to where it ends. Engage as many senses as possible. Have them see it, feel it, smell it, touch it, taste it, whenever, hear it whenever possible. Be specific. Avoid words like stuff, kind of, almost, around. Avoid ranges of time or ranges of numbers or age. Don't use vague generalities. Quantify things. Give them numbers, dates, times. For example, my story had 10 years in the business, 4 days on the road. Be specific. No vague people either. Have few people with names and specific roles, each one adding to the story. For example, my story had only 3 people with names in it: Jean, Gordon, and Ian. Find the moment of discovery in your story, and that becomes a gift for both you and your audience. Storytelling in a business context can include, but is certainly not limited to, telling customer stories, emotional and engaging stories, and stories that have a beginning, middle, and end always. It has some sort of conflict or resolution, a crisis. maybe interactions between your customer and your brand, your personal journey story, meaning how you got from where you are today, from where you started to where you are today. And we get into that a lot in my upcoming program, Show Up, Speak Up, and Get What You Want. Stories stimulate imagination and passion, and they create a sense of community with the teller. We can tell stories to sell, to entertain, to educate, among other things. In the context of speaking as entrepreneurs, we are telling stories to educate and sell, and we hope to entertain while we're at it. We all process emotions, and we can all share feelings of elation or hope or despair or anger. But sharing in a story gives even the most diverse people in an audience that sense of community and connection. Stories reveal our humanity. Good stories have 5 things in common. 1, good stories are entertaining and they keep the listener engaged and interested in what's coming next. 2, good stories are educational. They spark curiosity, they add to the listener's knowledge bank. 3, good stories are relatable to everyone because they tap into emotions and experiences that most people undergo. 4, good stories are organized and follow a succinct organization that helps convey the core message and helps listeners absorb it. And 5, good stories are memorable, whether it's through inspiration, scandal, humor, for whatever reason, a good story sticks in the listener's mind. Every story features at least one character. And this character is the key to relating your audience back to the story. The character is the bridge between you, the storyteller, and the audience. If your audience can put themselves in your character's shoes, they'll be more likely to follow through at the end of your talk with your call to action. In your story, the character overcomes a challenge. Conflict in your story elicits emotions and connects the audience through relatable experiences. If there's no conflict in your story, it's maybe not a story, at least not in this context. Storytelling is not a process, method, or technique. It's described, as you've all heard, as an art, the art of storytelling. And like art, it requires creativity, vision, skill, and practice. It's not something you just get in one sitting or after one class or course. It's a trial and error process. Have patience. When sitting down to write your stories, here are 9 questions to ask yourself. What can you say or ask the audience to pique their interest or attention before you begin the story? 2, who is the main character? 3, what is the character's situation at the beginning of the story? 4, what does the character crave above all else? 5, what is in the way of them getting what they want? 6, how and by whom are those obstacles removed? 7, how are the characters transformed by what happens? 8, what did the characters say or what happened to reveal the answers to those questions? And 9, what is the resolution? In my story, I badly wanted to make a difference for other hairdressers who were not going to give up everything, move to New York to make very little money just to get intense training for 2 years. So I'll just keep revealing how my story ends. Here are some tips for good storytelling. A story is a moment in time. It's a specific event. It's not your life story that rambles on and on and on. You tell just one moment in time. Don't overload the listener with details. Tell just enough to take your audience there with you. Use conversational language and dialogue. And when you're in person, while you're doing the dialogue part, don't make eye contact with the audience because they weren't there. It's a little weird for them. Use appropriate humor. Keep it clean. Use something from your topic area that relates to your offer. That is really important. Your stories have to be relevant to what you are talking about and to the offer that you will make at the end of your talk. Go with stories your ideal client can relate to. And then decide one single point you want to make that goes with your topic. Build your story from before to an after. How was it before and how is it now after you or someone else learned something or did what they did? It's okay to generalize the before, but be very specific about the results. Be very specific about the after. The after in my story, in that huge failing, is that I went and I learned public speaking and I did a lot of personal growth work. And after I did all that, I was then able to go out and work for professional product companies. And I went salon to salon teaching other hairdressers. So in the end, I did do what I wanted to do. And fast forward, that led to now having a company where I teach public speaking. So remember that people buy results. So you want to be specific about the outcome. Practice telling your story or stories to friends and family and see if you get the reaction you want. Ask them if their interest in what you do is now increased now that they've heard your story. Begin to create a story file. Keep a file of memories and notes and different stories from your life, because these stories will then go into your talks. Remember to only share the relevant ones to your talk and your offer. All the stories I share when I speak on behalf of my business all have to do with public speaking failures. So your stories are crafted from your life experience, and they're not told randomly, nor are they left up to chance or memory. Write it all out. When I went to do this, one of the things I was confronted by was the fact that most of my stories and life experiences I remember, at least the ones that stick with me, are experiences being like they're sad or mad or upset or embarrassed in some way. Important note here, you don't want to tell stories of something that happened if you still have an emotional charge around it. That will have you come across as a victim, even if you don't mean it. We're very transparent in front of an audience, even if we don't want to be. So you don't want to have your audience feeling sorry for you. You want to take them on a journey with you. Many of those stories where something didn't go well or turn out the way we wanted are great opportunities to share a message or make a point. Don't shy away from them. Your audience wants a little drama, and they want to know you're human just like they are. They want to feel you. They just don't want to feel bad for you. Make sure you practice and time your story so you can make sure you allow for that time in your talk. Don't get carried away and start to say more than the points that you wanted to make in that story. That's how you lose people. You want to say just enough to make sure it doesn't go on too long and still say the important parts to fully communicate the point of the story. Remember, storytelling is the heartbeat of any talk or presentation and brings it to life. If you like what you've heard here today, please leave a comment on my Facebook page, Red Stiletto Get to the Point. Thank you for coming today, and I'll see you all tomorrow when we will talk about your signature talk. Bye for now.